Podcasting since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts Radio Network. KingofPodcasts.com.
How much are these OnlyFans girls really raking in to shake that thing?
We're all a little depraved and debaucherous. Here is the King of Podcasts.
Welcome to the program. Another Depraved and Debaucherous episode for all of you to opine upon. Whether you find it through Amazon Music, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube Music, wherever you find it. Thanks for finding the show you always do. So let's get into it. By the numbers, OnlyFans. How much are these girls really making it? Now, this program, the Depraved and Debaucherous, we've been talking about OnlyFans since I had the show originally named When I'm Not Podcasting back in COVID time. And it's been there. And it's been more amplified for myself because of the fact that we've had a number of stars that spun off from OnlyFans. We see some of the celebrities that have joined OnlyFans only to get themselves real notoriety and a lot of controversial commentary out there. I mean, look, I feel like Maury Povich. I've said this to many people right now. When I explain the format of the Depraved and Debaucherous, I say it like this. So if you watch Maury Povich, you know, the talk show in the morning, very salacious tabloid talk show, and he does basically 4 or 5 topics and rotates them every week. It could be the lie detector test. You know, when you said you weren't cheating with this person, that was a lie. It could be the paternity test. You are the father. You are not the father. It could be, you know, the rambunctious kids. I do what I want. It can be all those things. And Depraved and Debaucherous follows that format. And that's because as a podcaster, if I talked about OnlyFans, I would be a one-dimensional podcaster that would be playing like a social media influencer. And I just can't stick to that. Doesn't matter to me about the algorithm and having to go ahead and, you know, worship the algorithm that will give me more viewers. Trust me, I know it does. I can see my Spotify stats. I can see my YouTube stats. Every time I talk about Bonnie Blue, I get a spike in numbers. It happens all the time. How long are people actually listening in? I don't know, but the feedback is good on it. And maybe I get a little bit extra monetization off of it. But that's besides the point. It's just I don't want to go and talk about it every time. But when we need to go and talk about it, it's a good fallback. It's the rotation. So OnlyFans is always in there. The sugar daddy stuff is always in rotation. Dating is always in rotation. Prostitution is always in rotation. And, you know, other things like that. And sex, always in rotation. It's the out of bounds subjects that you expect on this program. So that's what we're doing today. We're back to OnlyFans. And there's a lot of numbers I pulled together because I was looking back at the archives. It's that time of year where I start looking in retrospect and saying to myself, okay, what have we talked about this year that are like ongoing subjects? Well, the OnlyFans stuff has been very prominent on this program. And I will continue to talk about it into next year because this will continue. You just know it is. My ongoing thought process on OnlyFans was the fact that Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips were able to go ahead and parlay themselves into a career where they decided to go take the OnlyFans model and go as far as they could with it until they broke it. And now they're at the point where they have become porn stars in their own mind. All right. We haven't seen a lot of their content out there as if they're like adult stars that have been out there with studios and putting content out there for years. Nothing like Lana Rose, nothing like Mia Khalifa, nothing like that. But what we are seeing right now is just to talk about it, just a discussion. And the look of the women that we see here, it's getting the attention. So when Bonnie Blue decides to go and put out some gimmicks and things out there, you know, I think her and Lily Phillips have played very well to that gangbang, overly sexual, overly horny porn star persona, but not necessarily acting like it. I think they're just playing up to it. I know, granted, I know behind their paywalls, and I have not gone and sought out their content out there to see them naked, let alone see them having sex with thousands of men. I haven't looked for it. So they have the documentaries, they have the information out there. That's fine. But like, I haven't really paid attention too much on it unless it pops up in my feed. If I see something somewhere, I will probably bring it up. But for the most part, you know, it was December 18th of last year that I was talking about Lily Phelps initially, and the thought of her trying to go ahead and attempt 1,000 men in 12 hours. But Bonnie Blue beat her to it. And then there was the whole deal where they all against each other, all these things were going on. If I look back at the stories, you know, Bonnie Blue and her spring break escapade, and then the feud between Bonnie and Lily, and then the 1,000-man sex stunt, and then Bonnie Blue talking to Andrew Tate, and everything else going on. Women taking notes from Bonnie Blue. Well, we know now that there are women out there that are obviously paying attention to what these other women are doing and how men have, you know, gravitated around them if they're in person, or gravitating to what they're doing on social media. It's been there. And I think it's been entertaining because I believe there's a lot of trolling into this. I don't believe there's a lot of truth to all this, but it's the perception that we have to pay attention to, because for the women that are actually looking at these models, like these two, or Annie Knight, or, you know, whoever else, you got to pay attention to the fact that, all right, something about this is the highest level of sexual influencer. We know when women are out there trying to become influencers, trying to follow the algorithm. Well, is there a sex algorithm that gets a lot of male attention, that will get a paywall to really bank? And that's what these women are banking on. They're hoping that their bodies and what they bring to the table on OnlyFans gets men to come on board and really pay attention and start monetizing for them. Start simping for them, putting money in their accounts in a subscription format or whatever else, tipping, whatever it might be. There's a lot of it. And in the hopes that maybe one of these other girls is going to act like Bonnie Blue or Lily Phillips and offer themselves up for that sexual escapade for maybe a couple of minutes, with the given exception that these women today, we don't want to just go ahead and have the guy just, take us and deflower and whatever and move along. No, we'll give them a couple of minutes to console, and we'll give them a little bit of emotional component, make them feel loved, make them feel wanted, so that you have them hooked onto you to stay locked in, to monetize off of them for as long as you can. There's a lot to it. So in the story, we're looking at what has happened with OnlyFans and what they've done so far. It's a fascinating story. I want to take one of the things that got my attention on this anyway is the fact that the OnlyFans folks actually spoke at a business conference, and there was a lot of information being talked about the kind of money that they've been spending. So this was about a month ago. This came out. The OnlyFans CEO, Kelly Blair, was speaking, and she was at Bloomberg Tech in London, and she explained the company, OnlyFans, has paid out $25 billion to creators since it was founded in 2016. This London-based company has allowed content creators to offer subscription material directly to fans. Much of the content's pornographic. Others, but of course, they've been trying to diversify, put out other content out there to make them not look so slutty and so dirty. I get it. OnlyFans makes money by taking 20% off the top of any subscriptions or content, including videos, pictures, and chats sold via platform. Skyrocketing in COVID-19, we know. Many sex workers and celebrities were looking at ways to make money during lockdowns. And Blair mentioned to Bloomberg that the company was not just adult content, but is content for adults. And there have been a number of people from various industries. There was a new Olympic swimmer, I think it was, or track and field, I forget who it is, that just joined OnlyFans. On stage with Ms. Blair was Tymo Mills, who became the first big-name cricket player, female cricket player, to join OnlyFans. Oh, Tymo. I would have thought it was a female name. And this athlete was trying to find other ways to pay the bills. Now, OnlyFans is possibly looking at being sold. They're looking at offers and bids that somebody might buy them. Billboard reports that OnlyFans is valued at $8 billion as a company. Whew, $8 billion. Scooter Braun, most recently, who was seen kissing Sydney Sweeney. We know he was the guy that really was responsible for gathering all of Taylor Swift's material before she got her whole library back, or the rights to her songs. Meanwhile, Scooter Braun basically got the first deal to get all those albums initially that she got from him, that they got from her. And OnlyFans has also tapped trainers, comedians, and singers to expand their offering to new users, but still it's sex. And the owner of OnlyFans, Leonid Radvinsky, received almost $500 million in dividends in his investments in the company, and then also got another $200 million through April this year, according to corporate filings. So the owner has been still making bank off of this for a long time as well. Very interesting in that part. And then there was another story that also came out, and this is from Riverfront Times. I don't know where this is from, but are you in your overpromising era? So Taylor Swift has her album, The Life of a Showgirl, that came out, less than a month ago, I think, maybe about a month ago. And Hazel Hawk puts a story out here and says that she's listened to defend Taylor Swift through a messy rebrand, cried her eyes out during the Eras tour. And then she says that she has built a machine that's down to an art, but the marketing outweighed the music. And many OnlyFans creators attempt to do the same thing like what Taylor Swift does with this album. And she says that they hype their videos like they're going to be headlining Coachella, but then they forget that their fan base will notice when the product they deliver doesn't hit as hard as it promised they would. I don't know about you, but I noticed that myself, is that when I've seen any content of OnlyFans, it's not because I subscribe to it. It's not. Trust me, there are places you can go where somebody's going to go ahead and pirate some OnlyFans content and put it up on sites. Let's just make that clear. It's done. You could do it. It's very easy to go and see. And when you do see what's out there, again, poorly set up, whatever you're looking for, the pictures might give you a different perception. But the videos you might be looking for that might be more valuable to guys out there, you're not seeing much of it. It's like too close up. It's like this and that. The camera doesn't look that good. It's just not poorly done. It's poorly done, poorly produced. So if you're looking for the OnlyFans model that you want to see the way you want to see her, yeah, they're going to make crap content in front of you unless you really pay them to actually go ahead and get off their ass and do something. Now, she goes on to say here, Hazel, that creators who are hiking prices on their pages, charging premium prices for DMs, and then using a bot to respond to messages, are selling pay-per-view content that doesn't actually deliver what was promised, or are going to find themselves needing a side hustle to support their side hustle. People are coming to OnlyFans for connection, not financial exhaustion. And creators who understand that and adjust, those are the ones that are operating recession-proof businesses. Yeah, if you actually give what you want to be able to do. She goes on to say that vulnerability will always scale better than manipulation, and fans can feel when you're performing connection instead of genuinely offering it. Intimacy doesn't mean inflation. You feel me? OnlyFans creators who last are able to adapt, listen to their subscribers, and know when it's time to pivot and try something new. You can change your vibe without changing your values, but you can't throw on a wig and call it growth. The smartest creators aren't chasing trends, they're remixing them. Every era needs a reason to exist that isn't just a new filter pack. She goes on to say here that Taylor Swift has a huge fan base, stupidly large enough that a couple thousand of us being irked is no big deal, but willing to bet your subscriber base is nowhere near the same size. Taylor's going to bounce back, she always does, but second chances are much harder for content creators to secure, so make sure you're selling your fans an encore they actually want to buy. Good stuff here. Because if you want to sustain, that's the other part that women don't understand. The modern women that want to realize, okay, you want to be able to make real money off of this, fine. But you got to also understand business in order to do that. Because I think there's a lot of women that are short-sighted in what they're doing here. If they're going to make a quick buck, well, there are women on here that realize, no, there's a real business to be made here. Take your beauty and maximize it for as long as possible to make it go farther to go and do something else in your career, in your field, whatever it's going to be. But then you're always going to have that past that you did before that's always going to be there to haunt you. Now, Wired Magazine spoke with a former suicide girl, Rachel McCrary, and she's teaching creators how to monetize their ideas. Now, in that story, I should go ahead and make mention of who suicide girls are. They're, again, very controversial, very sexual models out there that you see a lot of content from. But if you need to go and find out who they are, it's not something that's very rememberable that people might remember. But if we want to go ahead and give that, we should go ahead and make that point. Suicide Girls was an online community and erotica magazine featuring women who embody alternative beauty standards, tattoos, piercings, unique hairstyles. So kind of like a goth emo type of feel to it. It's still around. Didn't realize that, but there is that, and it's still prominent out there. 9 million followers on Instagram, by the way. Keep that in mind too. Now, so this story from Rachel McCrary, and her story, she's the founder of a lingerie company, and she now is launching business classes on OnlyFans. She's founded the company Spice Track, Rachel McCrary. She's launched 4 videos on OnlyFans Wednesday, and she's focusing on pitching investors, building a brand, and navigating being an entrepreneur as a woman. And she's trying to make content focused on solely building a business, but it's for women that want to be able to do that. And part of the platform is continue to push into safer work content that's meant to complement the adult content. So somebody familiar with the adult content that you might be able to understand and relate to, she understands it. Now, McCrary met with the folks at OnlyFans last year at the tech conference, Summit Baja. And the idea was she was part of the Suicide Girls back in the early 2000s, felt stigmatized by her past working in corporate fashion, and she decided to launch her own business. But pitching underwear to tech VCs, I already felt like I had to prove myself more. And then she set up Spice Rack, being backed by a number of different investors. She said that, quote, being naked on the internet and raising venture capital for the largest funds in the world is a very rare Venn diagram. And OnlyFans is only looking to expand into more adult, non-adult content. So she decided to do a masterclass format of business classes. And she's been approached by many young women, including sex workers, over the years with advice on how to start their own businesses or pivot away from adult content. And she revealed her past as a suicide girl on a panel in 2022 and said, she's heard from OnlyFans creators who want to launch clothing lines or leave their corporate jobs. They've already gotten into entrepreneurship and some have learned how to do it really, really well. So how can we expand on this past the barrier, what they're doing, and make a bigger business? So she's doing that. Because the thing is that if you get the money, if you're able to go ahead and make the kind of money that Rachel's talking about here, you need to be able to be not just a qualified investor. Okay. What you want to be able to do is, this is the whole rich dad, poor dad thing. If you ever know what I'm talking about, if you know, you know. So the thing is that if you want to be able to go ahead and take that money and not squander it or put it into something that's going to go bad, you need to figure out how to invest it and how to put it into a business you want to work on. That's the part. Now, there was someone here named Matthew Ball. I found this website. I'm not what it was all about, but he's done some books. He's done some other content out there, and he put together a presentation on the state of OnlyFans in 2025. So I wanted to look into this real quick and see what he was all about. And he makes a couple of distinctions here when it comes to OnlyFans. And here's some of the things he's learned. In 2024, the spend on OnlyFans topped $7.2 billion. In the last 5 years, from 2019 to 2024, $27 billion have been plucked down on OnlyFans. That is crazy. OnlyFans paying, again, 80% of gross revenues, royalties edging almost $6 billion. OnlyFans users spent $4.64 billion in 2024, roughly 64% of platform revenues. It has dropped a little bit year to year. And right now, there are over 377 million registered OnlyFans user accounts. Wow, user accounts. These are all subscribers. How many of them are getting to adult? Don't tell me they're not. How many of them are probably, subscribed to some adult content or at least looking at adult content? Probably a lot of them. And it's up 72 million subscribers in just the last year, from 2023 to 2024. That is wild. So 377 million registered OnlyFans user accounts, bigger than the United States population. That is monster. And creators, there 4.6 million registered OnlyFans creator accounts. Still, that's a lot of people to compete against. For what, $6 billion of revenue? That's a lot. A lot of people to compete against to try to go ahead and get your niche of the pie, your slice. And over the last 5 years, OnlyFans, talk about a business, man, on basically the exploitation of women that, voluntarily are wanting to go to this site to go shake their thing. They have accumulated, in the last 5 years, $2.4 billion in operating profits. In 2024, 2/3 of $1 billion. It's just hand over foot crazy. It's incredible money. OnlyFans has hundreds of contractors, but only employs 46 people. And they generated $31 million in net revenue per employee, $14 million operating profit. All these numbers are just incredible. OnlyFans creator royalties have bigger payrolls than, the English Premier League soccer, more than Major League Baseball, more than the NBA, more than the NHL in 2024. The only place where there's more money being made than OnlyFans, the National Football League. That's serious money. Now, the average amount that creators make on OnlyFans in 2024, $1,325. The top 0.01% or 438 creators garnered almost 7% of all the money being spent, an average of $900,000, and took home tens of millions of dollars. So the ones that are becoming millionaires overnight, under 500 creators out of, what did I say? 4.6 billion creators out there. Incredible. And just remember, of the money they're making right there, cost of sales are 7.6%, admin expenses 2.7%. So OnlyFans every year makes about 9% profit year to year. 9%. Like they're making serious business on porn. And nobody thinks about that because of the way OnlyFans is presented. That's all these amateurs on here, right? Any woman can be on there and putting out content. And they won't look at it as adult content that can be anything more. But also because there's the presentation of the women that are out there, some that are so ridiculous and so over the top that they're out there going gangbangs. But remember, the OnlyFans folks, when they went after Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips, they made sure to kick them off the site because we don't content, all this kind of stuff. They wanted to get rid of that. But then you have models that are very sexualized, exploiting, showing off their bodies, but not going nude. And the tab.com actually put out, who are those women that are so prominently publicized and recognized and famous because of their spot on OnlyFans? And here you go. Mia Khalifa right now, who was a porn star, so you're going to go find content if you want to find her. 33-year-old influencer, was a former adult film actress, but she's not out there showing off her body. Not like it was before. But again, the difference was she was in her teens and 20s versus where she is in her early 30s. Maybe the body's still there, but, she doesn't want to do it anymore. Okay. According to Celebrity Net Worth, she's worth now $8 million. So that's really her OnlyFans career that really has continued her career and put herself out there. But that's, of course, the simping and the ogling over Mia Khalifa and who she was. She obviously has a fan base out there that watched her porn content and followed her all the way to OnlyFans. Sophie Rain. We've talked about only a little bit on the program, but I've talked about her here and there and about what she's done to go ahead and put her content out. And for her, she's one of the richest creators, best known for the TikTok Bop House, her Beef with Little Tay, and she's never posted nude. She has bikini and lingerie pictures. She's made enough money to buy her family a house, herself a yacht. She's claimed she's earned $70 million total from her content, and she's only been on the platform for a couple of years. Next up is Zara Durr, an ex-PhD candidate turned content creator. She puts a weird mix of content on OnlyFans, some of it STEM, and some of it spicy, aimed at guys who thirst over her. So she quit her PhD to go full-time on OnlyFans, and she's earned over $1 million in her content. And the last person in here is Bella Thorne, the actress, ex-Disney star, child actress. Joined OnlyFans in 2020, and again, tasteful, sexy pictures of her throughout. And she's worth $14 million right now, currently what they say according to Celebrity Net Worth. So there are women out there that these famous women, these other aspiring or current content creators on OnlyFans aspire to be. If they can go ahead and show themselves off and just be pretty without having to show off their body and undress, they'll do it. And they want to try to do that. I don't know if it works so much for them, but they're going to try anyway, right? Now, finally, then there are the real stories and the real conversation starters, the ones that have been at the very top of the game that everybody's heard about because of OnlyFans. They might be basically the most mainstream characters we have. Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips. Now, they're OnlyFans creators originally from Britain, known for extreme challenge content using mass sexual encounters and often framed as record-breaking stunts. They've had headlines all this year centered on rivalry stemming from late 2024 collaborations turning sour and escalating one-upsmanship. And let's just look at what they've done this year. Okay, the year for Bonnie Blue and the year for Lily Phillips has been, grandiose. So much crap has gone on, and of course, the praise of the Dodgers has been at the forefront of all this. So now, starting off in January of this year, Bonnie Blue claiming to sleep with 1,057 men in 12 hours in London, beating the prior record, and getting ahead of Lily Phillips, who had planned a similar stunt. Videos go viral. Blue thinks barely legal, barely breathing, and husbands, and sparks feud the reignition. And then Lily Phillips responds to interviews. Bonnie Blue subtly shades her. And then Blue accuses Phillips of copying her long-planned idea. And then Lily Phillips appears at the AVN Awards. And Bonnie Blue spotted with rapper Lil Maboo, amid romance rumors. Then there was a fake pregnancy drama where Lily Phillips was said to be pregnant. There were tests, pregnancy tests, bump photos, and it was all a stunt troll. Phillips calling it role play. Blue says it was to raise IVF awareness. And then Lily Phillips abandons her 1,000 men plan after Blue beat her to it and says she's not forced into content, and Airbnb bans Lily Phillips after prior stunt fallout. Then April to May, we had both of them getting competitive sex backlash. Porn stars like Bella Danger called their stunts circus acts. Rumors of fake arrests for publicity. And we see more women trying to come in and try to do their own sex stunts and trying to do their own multiple men sex capades and, going through a lot. Bonnie Blue being banned from OnlyFans for violating terms with Extreme Challenge promotion after announcing and canceling a petting zoo event in a glass box for 2,000 men, and then pivots to other platforms. And then July and August, she reportedly completes 1,113 men in 12 hours, saying she reclaimed the record. That's Lily Phillips doing that. I didn't realize this was actually happening, but okay. That supposedly Lily Phillips beat the record that Bonnie Blue had. And then more emotional toll in mid-2025, where Lily Phillips had a breakdown, health risks, and then Blue addressing pregnancy rumors again for fertility advocacy. And then most recently, Lily Phillips hosting a low-key cracking event with balaclava-clad men, videos leaked, t-shirt stickers given, and Bonnie Blue right now is supposed to be planning something big, but nothing else has happened so far. And their estimated earnings right now, with or without OnlyFans, the earnings being estimated right now monthly, Lily Phillips is earning right now monthly on subscriptions and tips between $300,000 and $450,000. The annual estimate, $1.5 to $2 million. And her net worth, $3 to $3.5 million. Damn. Bonnie Blue, who would be in the higher end of this, monthly is earning $1 to $2.1 million, peaking after viral stunts. Her annual income right now, most likely $8 to $15 million if trends hold. But OnlyFans income, losing that might have been a part. And her net worth right now, $3 to $5 million, but there have been some estimates to say that she's made as much as $43 million. And she assisted to other alternatives like Fansly, but right now we don't know what her highest end are, but still, it's a lot of money to be made. And so when I look at all this, I said to myself, man, that's a lot of money right there. And it's not surprising if some women feel like, as we've always said, okay, most of these girls that are OnlyFans, they would never go ahead and do the stuff they're doing in front of a camera or an iPhone if they had a whole bunch of guys watching and they were on a stage. They would never do it. And if they had other guys that could possibly go ahead and get close to them, they would never do it either. If they were out there in the public and there were security guards and they just, okay, they do this content and then they get noticed in public, stalkers or other guys just ogling on, whatever there might be, they'll be afraid. And the thing too is that also doing this behind closed doors. And in some cases, maybe some of the content, some of the women are not trying to show their faces or show them themselves, that they think, well, just the body parts will do. And they think that that's enough. And they'll say, oh, well, you know what? I don't show myself out there and I don't think everybody's ever going to notice it, but they will. Eventually, they always do. So I don't know what people feel about this. If they like the idea of putting themselves out there in this way and this feels good to them, I don't know. But I think with some women out there, you have to realize that when this is becoming something that's very popular now, and that we're seeing more people more and more than every day, that something will go with looking at all these women that are on OnlyFans becoming popular. And could something happen here where the women that are modern, independent, they might be struggling on their funds, they might be struggling on making ends meet, keeping their expensive lifestyle, finding what they need to go and, maintain their beauty, maintain the lifestyle, maintain what they want to go and do for themselves, and make sure that, and if they don't want to rely on any guys at all, or they're not able to go and rely on any guys because no guys are giving up to them in terms of any financial help or support, then they're asking themselves, they want to get that support so they can be taken care of and have their lifestyle maintained without having to go and do the work and having to earn, that they're just going to just take what the guys will give them if they show off their bodies. Now, Body Blue is still in the headlines out there. There was a story that came out where the Cal and Jackie O program, which was formerly a very popular mainstream Australian morning show that was run nationwide. Well, there was an epic showdown on their program that we'll go and talk about in just a moment. And what happened was that these content creators, Annie Knight and Bonnie Blue, remember we talked about Annie Knight, who I think had she had her own attempt to try to get so many guys to have sex with her. Annie Knight, 27 years old, appeared on the Cal and Jackie O show alongside British porn star Lily Phillips, where she made not so subtle remarks about Bonnie Blue, with whom she had been feuding for months. And one of the hosts asked Annie, "You've earned millions of dollars doing this the right way, but some people are doing this the wrong way." And then co-host Jackie O said, "Is this Bonnie Blue we're talking about?" And Annie says, "Yeah." Quote, "Her morals were just different to mine. We were friends and I stood up for her a lot. And then she just basically turned around and stabbed me in the back. Bonnie was trying to get me banned from OnlyFans. And because she got banned from OnlyFans, I think she didn't like I was still on the platform and still making money." And then more was said that she and Bonnie differed wildly in their approach to content creation. Quote, Annie said, "The difference is because my morals were always different. My intentions behind things were always different. The way I spoke about things was very different." And then Bonnie called in to give her side of the story. Annie Knight was confronted by Bonnie Blue, where Annie was saying, "I run a business. We all run a business. We should all just be happy and do what we want in terms of content." Bonnie says, "Without dragging our friends down." And then Bonnie replies and says, "The names of Annie and Lily have not come out of her mouth for months, so it's not really me you need to be looking at." Then Jackie would ask Annie if she had any words for Bonnie. And Annie was quiet about it. And then Bonnie goes on and says that, It's funny, though, because you say you've got nothing to say, but your social media says Bonnie Blue's a liar. Bonnie Blue's not doing schoolies. I'm 100% doing schoolies. And then Annie shot back saying Bonnie was currently in Thailand. And then Bonnie says, it's my body. I know exactly where I am. The bang bus is in Australia, but I will be in Bali schoolies. And I'm arranging in Bali for schoolies. And then Annie jumps in and says, are you going to do sex work in Bali? A country or a city in Indonesia where sex work is illegal? And then Bonnie says, I don't need to confirm what I'm doing. I will just be doing schoolies. I don't owe you anything. My name cannot stay out of your mouth. Then Andy goes on to say, I've got very different morals to you, and I'm going to speak out when I think that someone's doing something to damage the industry that we're in. And then Kyle would ask Andy, would you and Bonnie ever do anything again? And Annie said, no, I have different morals. I don't want to be aligned with what Bonnie Blue does. And it's done. So that's more just commentary out there, just to kind of get people all worked up and moving. That's all it is. But is it going to monetize? Is it going to financially benefit Annie Knight and Bonnie Blue to kind of stir up the commentary right there, the controversy? Yeah, absolutely. And is it going to help Cal and Jackie O? Absolutely. Is it all publicity? Probably. It could be all trolling. We never know. But there's so much more to it that could be brought up on this. But yeah, that's what it looks like. But it's what the women that are, looking to go ahead and hopefully make something out of this. That they don't want to go ahead and find, someone to date. They want to go ahead and be independent, modern women themselves. And then when they realize times get tough, they're going to try to use their body to try to do something more with it. And that's when things, they get a little depraved and debaucherous.